So in this video, we're going to show you how to calculate two examples of present value using the Math of Finance formulas built into Excel, specifically the present value formula. So our first example is going to have a future value that is our goal. We're going to set money aside and just let it accumulate interest. In the second example, we're going to be using payments to calculate the value. So let's look at our first example. Suppose that you are saving money for the down payment on a house. You want to save $20,000. You put money into an account earning 3% interest compounded monthly. How much do you have to set aside now in order to have $20,000 in 5 years? So I've set up a table here where we can fill in our values and do our calculations. The future value that our goal is $20,000. Our interest rate is 3%. Then a number of times we're compounding is given as monthly. The years is 5 years is when we want this money to be accumulated. And so the present value formula that we're going to use, we can search for it using our insert function if you've never used it before. Present value. And we scroll through the list. Present value is PV. Now, the present value formula works very similarly to the other Math of Finance formulas, including the future value. So our rate is the rate per period. So in the example, they remind us that it's the annual rate divided by the number of times it's being compounded. So in this case, that'll be our 3% divided by 12. The rate the N per is the total number of periods. So this is going to be the total number of compounding times per year times the number of years. And then in this particular example, we're not going to use the payment at all. So we're going to skip it. Instead, we're going to use the future value, which is our $20,000. Generally, again, you want to use either the payment or the future value. Most of the time, you don't use both. And then the type we can ignore. Now you'll see our preview of our calculation here. It's negative. In order to get rid of the negative, because we're not accountants, we're going to put a negative sign in front of the future value, and that will eliminate the negative sign in the present value. And so if we hit OK, now we have our present value, the amount of money we need to set aside right now today in order to accumulate $20,000 in 5 years is $17,217.38. And the interest that we're accumulating is just the difference between the future value and the amount we're setting aside now. So $2,782.62. Now, in our second example, as I said, we're going to use payments instead of a future value. So suppose that you want to purchase a car and can afford payments of $350 per month. You take out a loan charging 7% interest, compounded monthly. Again, the compounding and the payments have to be at the same frequency. How large of a loan can you afford to take out if you are making payments for 4 years? How much interest will you pay back on the loan? So again, we're going to fill out our table in order to do this, organize our data. Payments is 350. Our rate is given as 7%. The compounding number of periods per year is 12. Years, we put in 4 years. And so again, the present value. Now we can just type in present value and it will give us a reminder of what goes in where. But just kind of keep in mind that you get more information if you go through the insert function option. This is just here to kind of remind you, but if you want the detail that was provided in the pop-up menu, then you need to go in through the insert function option. But remember, the rate is the rate per period, comma. The N per is the number of payments total, which is 48, in this case, 12 times 4. And then here, our payment is the 350. And then we are going to skip the future value and the type. And again, it's giving us a negative value. I can go in and fix that by putting a negative sign in my formula in front of the payment. And now I'll get a positive value come out of my formula. Now, this is telling me that I can take out a loan in the amount of about $14,616.07. That's the value of the car that I can purchase, or whatever, aside from a down payment, what I can afford to take out a loan on, if these are the conditions under which I'm taking that loan. The amount paid in, I have to calculate in order to figure out how much interest I've paid. I'm going to calculate that as the payments times the number of payments. So compounding periods per year times years times the size of my payments. I've paid in 16,800. And so the interest is the amount I paid in minus the amount of my original loan, which gives me $2,183.93 in interest paid.